So I have my washer back together, except for the back is off, the bottom is off, and also the top's off. You technically don't need to take the bottom panel off. It's easy to take the back panel off. It unscrews, and then there are two screws, one on each side, to take the top off, and you get better access if the top is off. So in order to remove the drum, or the part you need to get at the bearings, first you want to take the belt off, and that's easy. Just pull the belt towards you and turn the drum, and the belt will come off. Then you have to drop the motor. You can disconnect the wiring first. There's a little clip you pinch on the motor wiring that pulls off, and then disconnect these wires. There's these are number 10 torque right here, and the rest is Phillips. What I did was took a picture of the wiring with my cell phone. I also made a little diagram so I knew where everything went. The motor unbolts. There's 4 13mm bolts, and the motor comes off. Once you have the motor off, you can start unbolting the drum. These are 10mm, and you just follow that all the way around, and the back of the drum will come off with the inner drum. And then there's a Allen screw here that takes that screw out. The pulley wheel comes off, and that gives you access to the inner drum with the back on it. There's a shaft that goes from the inner drum that goes through the back. That's where the bearings ride. What I did to knock that off was simply use I used a block of wood and tapped it with a hammer. I put the screw back in so I didn't bang up the threads, and I tapped it with a hammer, and that came out very quickly. In my previous video, I showed you how the back looks with the bearings out and how I intended on putting the bearings in. I tried using that bearing press with a long screw and washers. That did not work very well. I ended up tapping the bearings in with a mallet and a piece of wood. If you don't feel comfortable doing the bearings, there's plenty of YouTube videos on how to take out bearings and put in new bearings on boat trailers, cars, whatever. If you don't feel comfortable with that, if you actually take the back off and take it to any automotive machine shop, those guys can knock the bearings out very easily. You could try knocking the bearings out yourself. If you get the numbers off the bearings like I did, you can order the bearings and the seal. If you're a little worried about putting the bearings in yourself, any automotive machine shop would have a bearing press, and those guys would have experience, and they could put the bearings in for you for just a couple dollars. Once the bearings are in, you put the drum back on and screw it down. I put the screws in and sort of kept going around in a circle, tightening them up evenly each time, and then sugged them down. I don't have the torque specs or anything. Just use your common sense and don't crank them down to strip them. Put the pulley wheel back on. To put the belt on, I simply put the belt on reverse process and held the belt on the big wheel and turned the drum until the belt snapped on. After that, you put the back on, the top on. Like I said, the bottom panel's off on mine, but you don't have to drop your bottom panel. Did make it a little easier. I have it on these sawhorses. Did make it a little easier to get underneath it, but you know, that's not necessary. You could certainly do this job without putting it up in the air like I did. You probably don't want to lay it down on its back. Off the side, these metal cylinders are actually the shock absorbers, and what can happen is the drum can actually pop out of those shock absorbers, and that happened to me when I had the top apart and we had to put those back in. So it's probably best not to tip it over. But anyway, that's how you do the project. Like I said, Whirlpool will sell you the whole back of the drum for $350. I have $27 worth of parts, and you know, probably 3 or 4 hours worth of labor. But like I said, I took apart a lot more than I need to. It's actually a fairly simple and straightforward job. It can save you $1,000 on a new machine. So good luck, and thanks for watching.